Rafi's Rants. Hola, you amazing artist, and welcome to a weird video today where I'm going to talk about toxic people.
This is a big subject to unpack.
The reason that I wanted to talk about this today is because recently I dealt with somebody who was pretty toxic. This is somebody who was considered a friend. Basically, long story short, is that they attacked me publicly online, and I was like, okay, I don't understand what's going on. And it didn't have anything to do with anything online. It had to do with the fact that, like, you know, Klee and I have been busy. We just moved, and this person was feeling like we were rejecting them because we weren't hanging out. That's where I was like, that's a strange way to approach me, basically attack me in some way, shape, or form instead of just having a conversation. So yeah, we don't need this kind of people in our lives.
Admittedly, I was kind of like, what? And it was this weird mixture of like really surprised and also kind of not surprised. Like sometimes deep down you like see the red flags, but then you get busy living and you ignore them. When it comes to me and my closest homies and fam, I work under the assumption that I'm living life, you're living life, we're living life, they're living life, and when we get together, whether a week has gone by or a year has gone by, it's like, it's all good because everyone's doing their thing and then we come together. And I also work under the assumption that when it's not all good, whoever feels weird or bad is gonna say, I feel weird or bad, and then we're going to talk about it.
Right. Now, something interesting happened, though, because, like, obviously I was dealing with it on an emotional level, and right now, you know, we've got the holiday season coming up, so Klee and I are pretty busy in the studio. My daughter just moved in, so we're trying to work out some kind of scheduling around that because now we have 2 more people in the house. And I found myself feeling like right on the brink of feeling burned out, feeling like there wasn't enough time for things, and like really kind of struggling with stuff. I started to realize that that interaction had an impact on a deeper level because Klee and I do a lot of things. We do art, we do jewelry, we do music, we do these videos, we do podcasts, write books. So we're constantly working on creative projects. Because of that, the people that we spend time with, we make sure that like those are good interactions, right? That those are healthy relationships that we're having.
What I've come to realize for myself through thinking about this is that there's not necessarily toxic people so much as there's toxic behavior and there's toxic relationships. Like, and somebody who like makes you feel bad isn't necessarily a bad person. What I've come around to is more like your needs and your love languages can be diametrically opposed.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make either one of you bad. It just makes you not good for each other. Like you can really enjoy someone's company, but they can be like not healthy for you.
Dealing with all the things that we were dealing with, like it really, there was like a perspective that jumped in. And this person where they attacked me was on YouTube. So I get up in the morning and I'm getting ready to get my day started. I have a busy day in the studio. And the first thing I do is usually check comments, and I like reading your guys' comments. And of course, there's a barrage of comments from this person. And it caught me off guard, and it kind of threw me off kilter a little bit. And I remember like just sitting there really struggling with this, like being like, man, what the hell? And it threw off my entire day. At this point, I'm sitting there like questioning, like, why am I even posting videos on YouTube? Why am I putting blogs out there? Why am I writing this stuff? Just exposing myself to toxic people out in the world. And it really caused me to want to just stop. Stop trying to put information out there to help people because nobody cares and all this stuff. So basically I downward spiraled, which is not great. And it's not my most brilliant moment. There I was struggling with this, not realizing that I had downward spiraled into a place where it's almost like my reality was something different than it is, right? Because I have a great relationship with our YouTube community. We have the rogue artist community. We have amazing artists in this town. Like we are surrounded by really bright, really happy, really awesome people that are extremely creative and put themselves out there and do all the same stuff. Like, we're in this boat together and it's a really awesome relationship. But like, when you're in that place, it's almost like you're laser focused on the negative stuff. And the more you laser focus on the negative stuff, the more negative stuff seems to appear out of the woodwork. So what I did was I was just going to take a day off and really, really allow myself to think about it.
One of the huge red flags that I've learned to look out for is any relationship where I feel like I'm not enough. Like what I do is not enough or who I am is not enough. But here's the thing with that is that I'm really looking at whether I feel like I'm not enough and I carry that around with me, and then I sometimes attract people who are going to reflect that back at me.
I feel like there needs to be that compassion with people like that, but I don't think compassion means being a doormat.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
You still have to maintain boundaries because...
Well, yeah. I thought about it and I was like, I think I'm going to share a video about the fact that, like, you really do not need anybody toxic in your life, no matter what excuse you're using, especially if you're like, well, I feel sorry for them because they don't have friends. I'm like, you know what? They don't have friends because they're assholes. So here's my advice for dealing with anybody that's toxic, because you don't want that shit taking away from your creativity, from this world, this life that you're trying to build, right? And honestly, toxic people, they love to pull that stuff and just kind of make it all about them. And honestly, you don't have time for that. So the first thing you're going to want to do is set boundaries. Just set boundaries. A hard line. Like, this is the kind of, not set boundaries like, all right, well, from this time to this time, I don't want to, no, set boundaries. What kind of people am I going to allow in my life?
People operate so differently, and sometimes it's hard to like find that balance with people. Then I thought to myself, I just really wish there could have been a conversation. But at the same time,
if there's anybody that even shows an inkling of toxicity, do I want that person in my life? What kind of excuses am I using to allow that person to be in my life? Basically, at that point, you set those boundaries. You're like, you know what? This is the kind of life I want to live. I don't want these kind of people in my life. The second thing is make sure that you really work on the relationship with yourself, because unfortunately, the truth is that someone else is going to abuse you slightly less than you abuse yourself. So if you're pretty toxic to yourself, that needs to stop. You got to change that relationship with yourself.
Your awareness of yourself and your buttons and what you think of yourself is often reflected back at you. And it doesn't mean that you should take abuse from external sources, but it also means like you said, like you also shouldn't be taking abuse from yourself. You are enough. Who you are is enough. What you do is enough. If a person in your life is making you feel that that's not the case, then that's probably not a healthy relationship. And then also the internal stuff with you.
And I know that in the beginning, that's easier said than done, but really you got to stay on top of that and change that relationship with yourself and not be toxic to yourself and who you are. The less toxic you are to yourself, the less you allow that kind of shit in your life. The other thing, if you're in the midst of dealing with somebody who's toxic, I want you to maintain your perspective, right? So for me, what happened was I did not maintain my perspective. I downward spiraled into this place where all of a sudden the entire world was toxic. And that's just not a reality for me. The people that I surround myself with, the people that I attract into my life are not toxic individuals. Every once in a while, one of them pops up, and like, you just have to maintain your perspective and remember where it is that you stand when it comes to all this stuff. Like, no, I don't have time for that shit. Life is too short to make time for toxic people. I want them to have a better life, but I'm not going to sacrifice my happiness to enable somebody who's toxic. It's just not going to work. That's where, you limit that exposure. You don't allow yourself, this is an important one, like you just stop making excuses for allowing toxic people into your life, and you just limit that exposure. And you allow yourself to be completely honest with them and tell them like, hey man, I don't have time for this in my life. That's basically how the conversation ended. I was like, I don't have time for this. I really don't. And I follow this up with the final thing that you're going to want to do is just surround yourself with healthy people. Really build an empire of healthy, non-toxic, supportive people that are unconditional with you, right? You always know a toxic person because there's a lot of conditions, right? To being their friend or being their lover or being whoever. Like, you have to change. You have to be like this and like this and like this. And it's like, no. That's you got to love me for who I am and what I do. And if you don't like it, then, find other people. There's like 8 billion people on the planet. Go find someone else. And I know that this is a heavy subject, but I wanted to share this because there's just a lot of bullshit out there. And I just want you to just cut all that bullshit out of your life. Cameras on.
Okay, so it's later and, continuity. Who needs it?
Who cares?
I wanted to film this segment because with all this, I had been thinking about stuff and we had some really great conversations about this. And then I had a realization, which is something that I knew, but I never quite knew it with such clarity as I did in that moment. So I wrote it down. I think if you feel the way that I do, maybe this could be helpful. And so my realization was that throughout my life, I was able to move from hating myself through the eyes of others to loving myself through the eyes of others. And what I mean by that is, like, I would judge myself based on what I thought other people thought. And I learned to move away from that and to love myself, in part because of who I am as part of our community and who I am to my friends and family. And that's a beautiful thing. And this community has helped me to love myself through the eyes of others. And I am so grateful. But what I realized was, if you're not careful, that can also be a slippery slope. Like, because you could then tie your self-worth to others. And it gets tricky then when something like this happens, where another person is saying essentially that you have let them down in some way. There's a deeper level of loving yourself that is just loving yourself because you know that you're inherently worthy and you don't need any external factors and you just love yourself in the space that is you. That deeper level of self-love is what I'm looking at now, and really wanting to move towards that, because I realized that all of my people pleasery behaviors in the past were kind of tied in with loving myself through the eyes of others. It can trap you in a loop, like, even if people don't have expectations for you but you think that they do, right? There's a lot to unpack. A lot of us kind of do that loop where it's like, people love us and we love them and we want to make sure everything's cool and groovy all the time, and we don't even realize some of the things we do, and it's kind of common. But I'm thinking that just because it's common doesn't necessarily mean that it's always healthy.
Nope.
That's my little public service announcement, is that I love all of you and I love myself, and I love myself as part of the community that is us. And I'm also excited about deepening my love for myself that exists solely within myself, because each person is worthy and good and beautiful and deserving of love.
Well said.
Unconditionally.
Well said.
And if anyone is making you feel like that's not the case, then evaluate that.
And that's it, you guys. Hopefully you got something out of this video, and just wanted to let you know, hey, look at what I got. It's a calendar. My 2024 calendars have arrived.
So we were getting ready to end this, and so then I was realizing, as I was watching Rafi edit this, that, oh my God, I just dropped this big these big feelings, and this
so many feelings.
Public service announcement of love, and then calendars.
The calendars. Hey guys, here's the calendars. And guys, these are beautiful, beautiful. So these are still available on my website. Go to rafiandklee.com and get my calendar. And also I wanted to announce that Klee and I will be doing our virtual holiday show on our Adventure channel on December 9th at 5 p.m. Eastern. Some music, some art, some stories. Then come and join us. We would love to have you there. And I want to give a big shout out to the Rogue Artist community. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. You are the reason that these videos exist at this point in time in our lives. And thank you guys for being here and for listening to me rant about toxic people, because this is an important subject. I think more people need to talk about this in a healthy way where you know what to do. And I know it's easier said than done, and I know that some situations and circumstances really, really suck, but I really hope that you could get out of the way of anybody that's toxic like that. And thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I totally adore you. And if you like this and you've never watched this before and you want to subscribe, go ahead and click right over here. And other than that, holiday season stuff. Yeah, we're getting ready for that virtual show, so we'll see you then. Adios.